Welcome today to Ditch Digger CEO. Mike Berland is our guest. Did I say that right?
Yeah, how you doing?
We're doing awesome, and we're excited to have you. I've dug into you just a little bit and realized what an all-star you are and how fun it is. We got some things in common, and so we're gonna have a great conversation today, Mike. I've got Chris, my producer, who's gonna fire questions at you also. Cool. Our goal is to peel back the onion of Mike Berland and figure out, hey, what makes this guy tick? Where does mindset come from? His entrepreneurial mindset in the beginning come from? Where does this world of business, politics, writing, all these things come together? So that's our goal.
I love it. You know, I grew up in Chicago.
Did you?
I did.
How long were you here till?
I left in '86, so I lived always in the city. I grew up on Lakeshore Drive, right 1300 North, and went to Latin school. So I stayed sort of in the. So I got deep roots in Chicago. Diehard Bear fan.
All right.
No matter how much they disappoint us, I'm always there for them.
Well, whenever you want to come to Bears game, we put on a great tailgate, one of the best in Soldier Field, and we have a blast.
I would have been there this year. What we had no games.
I know, it's terrible.
Oh my God!
It's terrible.
I'm
we had
with
an okay team, but never could break out of the average type of thing. But when you come next year, we'll have games. We'll have some great tailgates, and you can come out and hang with us. You get everything from 50 to 150 people show up to our tailgate, and we have a great chef. We have a great chef that cooks every single time lobster and steak. And then a lot of other things, depending on who we're playing, right? Does it kind of culturally for the team we're playing against, right?
Yeah.
And so we have a blast, and we have a lot of great networking. So you would meet a lot of people that you would get a kick out of, and some you may even know.
9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, I'll be in the parking lot with you.
We start at 8, dude. Get there earlier. We start at 8, so you get a good 4 hours in. Start with breakfast, but we have a blast. So I'd love to have you.
Yeah.
Right, so Chicago native, moved here. Let's hear about Mike. You're kind of what do you do today? What do you do today that drives you? What do you have fun with? On the entrepreneurial side, on the political side, on the writing side, what's your excitement today that you look forward to tomorrow?
Well, I've been a serial entrepreneur for the past 30 years. So I'm on my third company, and this company is different because this is one that I'm the only owner. I'm the boss, and I started off my career working. I joined a political consulting company right out of Chicago, went straight to New York and never came back. I then joined the world's largest public relations company called Edelman, another Chicago-based company, and created Edelman Berland. And then I went and started this company, which is called Decode, where we decode data into momentum for companies. And what I love about the third company is I learned all my lessons of what I liked, what I didn't like, and the first two, and now I'm doing it my way. And I got to tell you, this is the best way.
Awesome. How fun is that? To use the wisdom you've gained, right?
Yeah.
To build the ultimate business that you know is going to work, number one, and you're going to be so passionate about, right?
And business that I know will work, solving client and needs that I know that they have, and hiring the people that I want to work with. Everybody from bottom to top is somebody that I have a personal relationship that I would enjoy hanging out with and look forward to working with them every day. And that is magical.
So you want to know that your customer, the people you work with, you have a blast out skiing on those old 1920 skis behind you. You'd have a blast doing that. You'd have a blast golfing with them. Right? I mean, that's the fun of business, right? When you can establish relationships of trust and love, where man, your customers are care about you as much as you care about them, right?
Yeah, but that's a value I learned. We're both YPOers, and that's something I learned in YPO of just how to create that special bond with your peers. That you're not trying to sell them, you're not trying to ask for something, you're just trying to get along with them, and they become your inner circle. And I created that at my company, where we can have an environment where, sure, I'm the boss, but there's 20 years in between me and the next person in the organization. And so I'm mentoring them, I'm friending them, I'm watching them go through life, and we're solving some of the most important challenges that our clients face.
Who are your customers now, Mike? And how do they progress from where you were, 20 years ago to today? And in relationships, I know a big deal, but who are your type of customers today that you serve the best?
The clients that we serve the best are the ones who are ready to transform to get momentum. And so early in my career, I was all about politics. And I wanted to, I knew from the time I was at Latin that I didn't want to be a king, but I wanted to be a kingmaker. And what I mean by that is I ran for student government twice and I lost. And I'm like, oh, this isn't very good. You can put all this effort in and you still lose the election. And so that's if you become the king, you can get shot or you can lose.
Yeah.
But if you're a kingmaker, you can just move from king to king to king, giving your best advice. So I decided to go the consulting route. And initially, my clients have been Bill and Hillary Clinton, have been Mike Bloomberg. Like I've worked at a very high level, getting people elected. And you understand what is the right message? What are the right issues? How do you gain momentum right into election day? That's what politics are all about. So I took those lessons from the campaign trail and then applied it to businesses. And I'm going to date myself, but I was working early on in Coke versus Pepsi, Domino's versus Papa John's, AT&T versus MCI, BlackBerry versus iPhone. Like I've been in all those battles, helping take the lessons from the campaign trail, applying it to business. And then I took it to the higher level and just started working directly for those companies who were disrupting the marketplace and wanted to change the world. So my clients now are Airbnb, disrupting travel, Lyft, just disrupting how we get around. And unfortunately, one of my clients was WeWork, which was a wonderful company, but had a sort of less than reputable CEO, who I didn't know.
Yeah. Boy, those are fun business to be around, though. They're not always going to be, the ultimate success stories, right? You've got a lot of things around that, but boy, to be around emerging industries like you've been, and big political careers, there's so much wisdom for you to gain over the years that you could be laying on these young people around you, right? Basically sharing your experiences with them, so they could be way more valuable than they'd be otherwise. That's awesome.
And politics teaches you how to lose. Like it teaches you how to win, but you lose many more elections than you win. And so you learn how to move on, take the lessons that you learned from a particular election, what went right, what went wrong, and you move on to the next thing. That's what I loved about politics, is that you can't be a one-man show. You have to be able to operate within a team environment or the candidate loses.
Yeah.
And so those lessons were invaluable, even though I ultimately decided that I didn't want to stay a political consultant, because politics is a very tough business.
Yeah, it is. It's a tough business, and many people are telling me it's a dirty game, and be ready for a lot of crazy stuff.
Yeah, but it's a dirty game for people who don't want to get dirty. Like every business is hard. Every business you got to get in. In politics, it's all in, and if you're even a little bit not committed, the voters will sniff you out and they'll reject you. And you've got to feel it inside that you're going to do this no matter what. And if you're compelled in that way, voters will get behind you. And if they see any indecision or question your motives, you're done.
Absolutely. And I said before we started this, right, that I am determined to run for governor in Illinois now. I'm going to be announcing in about 3 weeks, so about the time this comes out probably. And again, I've never been in politics except for supporting. I've kind of helped the kingmakers and all that by getting good candidates out in front of people to get them elected. And I had fun. I've been a co-chair for a few bigger, fairly good sized campaigns, and, county sheriff and the state's attorney, things like that. And I've had a lot of fun doing it, because if I find great people that I believe in, I have a lot of fun just being there with them, supporting them, and getting them out in front of my friends and networks to help create some success for them, right? And some votes. And so again, it's been a blast to do that. I've never envisioned myself being in the ring, kind of, right? But I feel like there's a kind of a calling right now. I'm in a position in my life where I can do it. I'm in a state where I believe need some common sense. We need we need jobs, and we need to fight taxes, and we need to create jobs, right? And those are things I know pretty much about by being in the business world and being in Illinois for my whole life, right? You got the heck out of here, dude. I stayed around, so I've learned a lot about this state and how it's changed.
I love Chicago and I love Illinois, and I'm also sad at just how the economics have gone south, how the crime is up, and how such a wonderful state has gone off on the wrong track. I mean, they need some leadership to get. It was always Chicago when I was growing up was a sort of no bullshit city, and in Illinois it was straight shooters who did the right thing, and somehow it just went off in the wrong direction, and I don't know where or when it happened. Like I'll date myself. I was Jane Byrne, Michael Blandick, Harold Washington. Like that was me growing up. And it just somehow between Rahm and Mayor Lightfoot, something seems to have just gone awry. And I mean, you're going for statewide, but city itself just sort of mortgaged its future.
The city's got to thrive in order for the state to survive. Okay.
Right.
I mean, that city is a world-class city. And right now, you can go there now, Mike, if you haven't been there. It's not right now, right? We're in tough shape. I have a place down there, so I'm down there once in a while, right? And I've got business in the city and friends all over the city, so I'm down there once in a while. I was down there, every other day, right? Now I'm down there once a week, maybe twice a week. But either way, it's a different place right now, and it's not a place where most people want to be. I mean, I don't care what income level you are right now. If you live in Chicago, you want to get out, and that's sad, really sad, right? And when you look at the urban environment, man, it's terribly beat up right now. And how do we revive it all? So the urban environment is a great urban environment, and the working class love it there, and everybody loves it. It's how it should be. It's a beautiful place, right? Yeah. So I believe it can be recaptured, in my opinion.
I don't want to veer too much off, but I don't know what's up with CPS. I follow it, and I think that's just so sad. I wonder what this teachers union is doing to our kids. I'm not taking a stance on union, not union. It's just kids need to go to school. Like kids need to get an education. They've been on and off strike for so many years.
It's terrible, and I'm the same way. I have union companies, Chicagoland union companies. I came from labor, right? I'm not a union basher, or either way, whatever works for the environment you serve. If you can, whatever serves your environment the best is my opinion, the right move there, right? But boy, when the teachers are saying they will not come back, and the mayor is saying please come back, right? That's a sad deal.
I think Rahm and Mayor Lightfoot have both been fighting with them to educate our children.
Yeah, and you shouldn't have to fight. You shouldn't have to fight. That these teachers, most of them are very passionate about serving and teaching kids, right? 100%. For sure, in my opinion. I know, a few family members and friends of mine. They're great people that really want to serve these kids, but yet the unions are telling them, no, don't go back. And those that are going back, the 10 or 15% that are going back, I guess, are just getting crazy resistance, right? So either way, that's a sad thing. So either way, there's a lot of work to be done in Illinois and Chicago. And I'm going to be calling on you to get some strategy out of you, man, because now that we're going to be buddies, I'm going to call you. Hey, Mike, what do you think of this? Hey, Mike, what do you think of that? You might say, hey, Gary, I might have to start billing you now. This is the 7th call in a day.
Yeah, there's no bill for someone doing the right thing. Well, hold on. There is a bill for someone doing the right thing, but raise some money first. Then we'll send you a bill.
Yeah, there you go. Sounds good. Well, yeah. So either way, business and politics. I do think there's a lot of similarities. I know that the negotiating is different. I know that that the there's policy and politics is different than business, right? But boy, we have to have policy and regulations we adhere to in business. I think there's a lot of similarities. People say there's a lot different. But where do you find on the marketing side for you, and the political side, then going to business? Where do you find similarities? Where do you find big differences?
Well, the biggest difference is in politics, you only have to get elected once every 2 or 4 years. Yep. In business, you've got to show up every day, and you can lose your job. There's no terms in business. Like you can even have a contract and they can say you're out. So, so in the election day is every day in business, whether it's in helping your clients with their growth strategies, dealing with a crisis, helping them institute their programs. In politics, you have more time. You can take a longer term view, and ultimately you need to get your momentum back by the time that there's election day. Like when I worked for Mike Bloomberg, his first 2 years were so rocky. He instituted a ban of smoking in public places, which the bar owners and the restaurants went absolutely crazy. He raised taxes, two very unpopular decisions, but we knew that he had 4 years. We knew that he could recover, and those were the right decisions. And so one of the things you learn is in politics, you can do the right things, and you have time to let people realize. In business, you can make that same right decision, but you've got to sell it in right away, and your results will be judged in the first 30 days. And certainly if you're a public company, every quarter you're getting evaluated. So that's a very different mentality.
Sure. So so like you're saying, you know, the decision you make in the business decisions market, when you're getting judged fast, and you can be fired anytime. But the long-term relationships are rewarding as heck compared to politics, where, hey, you might have the best relationship in the world, but if that person loses, they might be on to something else. Or if they win, they may find somebody else. Either way, shorter-term relationships on the politics side is probably the disadvantage, right?
Well, the other thing that you'll find interesting in business, the power is in yes. The power is in getting that deal done, closing it, moving forward. And so, like, if you get something done by saying yes. In politics, all the power is in no. I'm not going to support your measure. I'm not going to get behind you. You're not going to get this done. Like, one of the things that I found so interesting during the last 4 years in Trump is just how often the Democrats were saying no. And that's where all their power came from. So now they control the House. They've got a virtual tie in the Senate. They control the White House. Now they've got to switch from no to yes. And now the Republicans are in no. And so it's a very different mindset. So as you think about office, think about the power in no versus what you're used to, which is in the power in yes. True.
And then, and how do you, in business, we have to often, we also often have conflict, whether it's teammates that aren't happy, whether it's customers not happy, whatever. You have these conflicts that you have to get through. But I feel like the common cause of serving the customer first and best is an easy one, right? I mean, because we can get through a lot of things with that. I feel like in politics, that's not often the case. Often it's an agenda instead of serving the customer, the taxpayer. And it bugs the heck out of me that I see that so much, right? Where I just don't understand it, where in politics, I don't care, right, left, whatever it is, let's figure out the solution that serves the taxpayer best. That should be the answer, right?
Right.
But I think that, because of career politics, right, I think that's changed a lot. And so for me, I don't know what I call it. I'm calling it, citizen warriors, or, you can call it statesmen or stateswomen. I don't know what you call it, but, I want to be a person that helps build, politics of servant-minded people that are there for the citizens and not themselves. And so when you have an unsustainable system, whatever it is, in our case, it's our pension system, totally unsustainable at $420 billion now of total debt. 30% of our income is going to, and we're not even paying our interest, all of our interest, and we're paying zero principal, right? We're paying half the interest, no principal, and it's 28% to be exact of our income. So when you look at that, you say, that there's no way that's sustainable. We can't serve our citizens of Illinois if you have an unsustainable product like that, right? So people that run and win shouldn't be part of that pension. I mean, they should say, I'm here to serve, so of course I can't take this pension along with everybody else. It's unsustainable. We have to restructure this in order for our state to survive, right? So again, I look at those type of things and say, if we had people that ran that said, hey, I'm like the old days, I'm going to do my couple terms, and then I'm out. Then I'm going back to work, going back to my family, whatever going back to it is, right? If we had more of that, I just think we have a better shot at serving our citizens better.
Well, I think, look, as you think about your issues and think about how you're going to rally support, getting people to get behind your agenda, to see in business, we're used to outcome-based work. So have them have confidence in the outcome. And then here's how we get there. And that's what a campaign is about, is do you have confidence in me to deliver this outcome? And whatever it is. And I learned that really in politics, and then applying it to business, where business leaders, I'll give you the flip side of business. So you can get fired every day, but if you miss your numbers in Q1, business leaders always think they can make it up in Q2 or Q3 or Q4. And then all of a sudden you can have like 2 years of bad performance and you still might be in your job. That doesn't work in politics. You hear about kicking the can, and this is what you're dealing with. You can kick the can, but ultimately someone's going to have to deal with it. And that's kind of what you're doing now. Is like, politicians, you want to keep kicking the can, eventually you're going to have a really massive problem. And that's what you're talking about now. People have just kicked the can. It's not my problem. Next administration will take care of it. And now you're stuck with your problems.
Yeah, and again, but I look at business first and foremost. If we don't serve our customer, we have no business. If our customers aren't loving what we give them or we serve them with, we're just not going to have any business in the future, right? Or if we kick the can budget-wise, and again, we just reviewed all our budgets in my company with my teammates, right? And I challenge all these budgets because bottom line is we need to create enterprise value in every business. We need to make sure that we're serving a customer at the highest level possible, right? But if we lose money year after year after year, and we don't do a budget in Illinois, they haven't had a balanced budget for like 20 years. Okay, right. So if I didn't have a budget in my businesses, we would be a runaway train, right?
You'd be bankrupt. So, you'd be bankrupt, and banks would be chasing you.
Exactly. So again, that's the difference. Like, you get away with it in politics somehow. But boy, if you could, and I know it's not that simple, but boy, if you can operate any community, any city, any state, any government, right, like you have to operate a business, the pension would not be $420 billion on a $42 billion a year budget and taking up 30% without paying half the interest and no principal. If you operate it like a business, could happen. The bank would say, no, that does not work. Sorry, you need to change that budget, right? So
yeah. Well, didn't Ram sold the Skyway, right?
You know what, Ram and Daly sold some stuff down there that wasn't very sustainable in the sale. They spent all the money. They sold. Daly sold the parking meters and something else, and Ram sold something. But the bottom line is, when they sold it, they didn't treat it like a business. They didn't treat it. It should have been treated like, hey, if I sell this to you, I want recurring revenues for the next 100 years or for good, or 20 years, and then I own it again. Instead, they sold it and then took the money and spent it right away. So there's nothing there anyway. So there's great, and that's called the P3s is what I call those, right? Public-private partnerships. Yeah. If they're done right, they're awesome. Because you take government out of maintaining, and you leave it up to the business, right, or whoever the business is, right, whether it's a huge construction company, a huge bridge company, or whoever it is, right, you put it on their backs to maintain it efficiently, and you get recurring revenues. If it's the right revenues, right, it's a great deal. And Indiana, there's some states that have done a really good job with that. Indiana, Mitch Daniels back in the day did some good stuff for that. I know there's other people across the world that have done great P3s that end up costing them very little in the long run. They make a ton of money because they got somebody very frugal on the management end of it instead of themselves, right?
Yeah,
so you're right.
And those are the lessons as we work to help our companies get momentum. We look at what are the momentum drivers, and we have a lens kind of like that, looking at we call them the 5 drivers of momentum. So we have disruption, innovation, polarization, sticky issues, and social impact. And we look at all the initiatives or where the brands are at. And if you're not pulling one of those levers, you're not going to have momentum. And it's and it works in business.
Wait. Okay, so you got to say that slower for me, Mike. Disruption, innovation.
polarization, sticky issues, and then social impact.
Sticky issues.
Sticky issues, and look,
Okay.
you're not going to win your campaign if you don't have a sticky issue. You have to have something that is memorable, that is associated with you, that is on the top of mind, that people can identify, and it's really important. I just wrote every week we do a newsletter called the Up and Down, and I just wrote an Up and Down on how moonshots are now have the most momentum, because a moonshot, it used to be a moonshot was way off and maybe you were going to get there. Now moonshots are long-term visions that are attainable, but they're far out. There's incrementalism is gone. Like if you're going to be an incrementalist and just do things step by step, you will get fired, you will lose your job, you will get voted out of office. You've now got to have a moonshot. Give
Absolutely.
people confidence that you can get there and give them proof along the way.
Yeah. Are you part of Abundance 360?
No.
Okay, so Abundance 360 is a technology, one of the technology leaders out of Silicon Valley that runs Abundance 360. 360 CEOs, and I've been involved in that a little bit over the last few years. But moonshot is something we talk about always, right? Because you're exactly right. I mean, you got to have a vision beyond what people think can be accomplished. And it's got to be a realistic vision, right? But boy,
Right.
if you can get everybody to buy into that vision, and we go back to Kennedy, right, with the moonshot, right?
Right.
And his goal to be on the moon, right?
But it doesn't. Cool. This is what I love about moonshots is in the day, a moonshot seemed like such a big deal. Now, like getting to the moon, you're like, they're sending tourists to the moon. They're sending, like that's not a big deal. Like Elon Musk wants to go to Mars. Do any of us think he's not going to get there? No. Is he going to get there next year, 5 years? Who gives a shit? He's got a vision. He's going there. I'm on board. And as long as he gives me proof along the way that he's going to get there, but it can happen in all of our businesses. As a CEO, give your team a moonshot, give them the confidence they can do it, and they will get there. And I think that's very different right now in the post-COVID mindset. We now through this introspection, through this period of where our freedom has been limited so much because we've had to quarantine. We now want to think big because it's the light at the end of the tunnel. It's what gives us hope. It's what inspires us. So your moonshot is exactly the right idea for the state. My moonshot to know that everything in the world is knowable. You just have to know where to look. With my companies, that is what that's what works, and that's what's going to get us to the future.
Sure. I love it. So disruption, that's something we believe in. Innovation, we believe in. Tell me what your opinions of those two things are. And I want to go to polarization, which I haven't heard very often. So go with disruption. And
I mean, disruption is just, turning things upside down. Questioning the status quo. Look, I know you're a disruptor. I've only met you on this podcast, and I know like you don't accept anything for the way it is. You view things of how they should be. So that's your natural disruptor. Innovator is really making things better. Some things you don't need to disrupt. You just need to make them a little bit better, new and improved, but create some FOMO, fear of missing out. You have to be a part of it. Polarization is actually the most important one that before, let's say 10 years ago, people were really scared of polarization because they wanted to be all things to everybody. They didn't want to have people on one side or another. Now, polarization really gives you the power because you have a point of view. You need to know you're with me or you're not with me, and that's okay. Because consumers want to buy into something that is not for everyone, but is really for them. Same with voters. It's okay to polarize. You're either for me and you can identify with me, or you're not. So polarization, point of view, is more important than ever, and we shouldn't be scared of it.
I like that. Yeah, I mean, it basically, I've learned this over the years. We talk about differentiation or die is my thing that I always say. And, we always want to disrupt and differentiate, and that takes innovation usually, right?
Yeah. I mean,
but when you look at polarization, I like it. Very often we try to serve too many customers in a space, and often they're not all a fit, right? But if we can focus on the ones that are definitely a fit, right, that understand why we bring value, a great value proposition, those are the ones we want to deal with. Some customers will never care to understand your value proposition because they commoditize you. Their goal is always commoditize you to get the cheapest. But boy, when you're delivering value that's 20, 30% above the competition, it's hard to be cheapest, right? So again, I love the polarization thing. And sticky issues, I like that, and talk about that. But I love that one too.
Well, I now think I'm going to have to start charging you a consulting fee, because here's another lesson that a businessman needs to know. In business, some consumers and some customers are worth more than others, right? If they can be a 2x or a 5x. In politics, everybody's one. And that's a really hard concept for business people to understand, is that each vote is equal. And that's why you have to work so hard to get each vote, which is why you have to polarize. Because you can't go one by one to get to however many millions of votes you're going to need to win. So you need people to self-identify. Whereas in business, we can sell them. In politics, we need to have that sticky issue, that memorable idea that gets people to identify that they want to vote for you and they'll support you. And that's how they go together. And it's a very hard concept for business leaders who run in politics. First, to understand the power of no versus yes. That's a very hard concept. Second is that all voters are equal, and you have to work just as hard for each and every one. And so it makes the messaging and the power of your campaign so much more important.
Absolutely. And then, social impact, I love it. I mean, we have a foundation, and our foundation builds a great company, has some type of social impact that they make, right? And they allow their teammates to be part of, because in my opinion, you do that, you build a culture that's, just so strong compared to otherwise. And tell me what you found with that.
Well, social impact, I think, and we're seeing it with ESG investing, it's cost of entry. You have to have some impact on the larger good, and it has to be baked into your business in a very authentic way. It's no longer with public affairs. It's no longer even philanthropy. It's a way of doing business and making the environment that you operate in, the society that you work in, having some impact and something, and doing good is absolutely required because if you don't, people are questioning, why am I here? What is the point? It has to go along with the mission of that company. It has to create, having
Absolutely.
that connection sort of heightens and amplifies the business and the brand and the product and what have you. And
absolutely. Yeah. Say it again.
I would say it will be important to your campaign. Even if you're all about fiscal responsibility, the social impact component will be a strong differentiator of how will this outcome make our society better.
Yeah, I know, I look at communities right now. I'll tell you, Mike, I look at from our lowest labor cost teammates to our highest labor costs, our executives, right? Our communities are being busted apart right now because, when a kid gets to be 17, 18 years old, they're looking at colleges, and people are talking to their kids about, boy, whatever you do, you don't want to come back to Illinois to build your future, right? Go off somewhere else. That's the conversation more than not, right? And it just makes me sick to that's the conversation. I don't care what income level you are. Or the other example, Mike, is in my business, we're growing in other parts of the country. And so we've got a Dallas office and a yard there. We're also in Maryland. And so bottom line is if it was 15 years ago, we would struggle to get any of our teammates out of Illinois to move there for the same money. Okay. Now 80% of them raise their hands. If they don't have anything holding them back, they want to be somewhere else other than Illinois, which makes me sick. That shouldn't be the case. So again, so I look at social impact in this run. If we can stop the bleeding and make Illinois the great place to build your career, right? To raise your family, we would win. It'd be a huge win, right? And then 15 years ago, that's who we were. In fact, 14 years ago, 2007, we were the place in the middle of the country that you'd want to be if you're going to be in business, right? Or if you're going to start a job or career.
Yeah. No, I look, the change that you're talking about, it's, you're talking about the city that works. You're talking about just a straight shooting state with a wonderful public education. Like Champaign is a top school. All the whole system. So it's bringing that greatness back and giving purpose. I couldn't agree with you more.
And again, the other thing I learned in business, Mike, and you can talk about it. So similarities, marketing and business, marketing and policy. So similarities I see of this. When I see friends of mine that are running on both sides of the fence, right? Those that are aspirational for 70, 80% of the message do way better than some of my friends that are negative because they're smart. They're smart people very often, understanding all the problems. So it's hard for them not to go to problems, the policy problems, the job problems, the problems first, right? And those people don't fare very well. I think they shut people off. Just like in business, you and I, if we're going to sell our vision, it better be pretty positive, right? To get people to buy into it. Our teammates, our vendors, our customers, right? If it's negative, starts out negative, that's not a good thing, right? And in politics, it just seems like because we have so many challenges. Yeah. Am I right in this? That it's kind of the same thing there. I think there's very similar there, right?
Yeah, go for it. That's why the moonshot works. The moonshot in politics works is what is your vision? What will it be like in business? If I buy your product or service, how are you going to help me attain my goal? In politics, it's the same thing. A negative campaign, like that not negative like you're attacking, but a negative campaign that everything stinks, you won't win. Americans are an optimistic group. We very rarely talk about the past. We always talk about the future. We prefer sunny days, and we believe that you can get in your car and drive as far west as you want, and that nobody should be able to stop you. And so you can't lose that optimism. Right. It's the same optimism that we used to have for the Cubs. You take what you get, but it's the same in politics. You can say there's problems. You have to talk about the solutions.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm a Sox fan, so we have similar issues either way on both sides of town, right? But,
I one time got chased out of Jerry Reinsdorf's office with a baseball bat. He was remember when the Sox we were like 2 years away from winning their first World Series, and they had all those young kids who it was a shit show, but it was coming together. And
2003.
Yeah, okay, and Pippen, I think they were, and then the Bulls were I think deciding to let Pippen go. And I was doing a project because Reinsdorf wanted to market the White Sox and the Bulls together to say, if you like what I did with the Bulls, you're going to love what I'm going to do with the White Sox. And I said to Mr. Reinsdorf, I don't think you understand Chicago fans. We think with our heart, not with our heads. And he took a baseball bat out. He had a trash can full of baseball bats. And he took a baseball bat and said, you think I don't understand Chicago fans? Who the hell do you think you are? And he chased me out of his office in Comiskey Park.
Come on.
I swear, I couldn't make this shit up. I was laughing so hard because I was just being straight with him that he was trying to make a rational argument to Chicago sports fans who
That's
winning
funny.
is not the most important thing. Trying hard, having fun, winning was always sort of the Bulls spoiled us, but it was never our top priority. In New York, if you don't win, they throw you out.
That's funny. Well, I've met him a couple times and friends with his son, and boy, they are funny. They're characters in real life. I mean, they're funny guys. I mean, they're just great big person. They're very they're not in front of the public very much, and they're not out there right in front of the camera much. But boy, in my opinion, they should be, because they're funny. They're funny and very compassionate, loving type of people. But I could see him just getting, wait a minute, right? Just having fun with it.
Was he like parking garages? Like he was a tough, before he would, he's been an owner for a long time, but he was like parking garages before, right? But how did they make their money?
Yeah, real estate, I think, insurance, a bunch of different things. He's been involved in a bunch of entrepreneurial endeavors before that, and that wasn't looked upon as a very good deal that he brought all his friends in when he bought these teams, right? I think first one was the Bulls was the first, I think, and either way, I mean, both these teams were not pretty when he came in, right? There was no profits in the Bulls when he came on board, and the Sox didn't look any better.
And correct me if I'm wrong, the Reinsdorfs, he was just never loved. Somehow the Cubs could lose forever, and everybody loved them and loved the owners. And the White Sox, just never got a break. And he was always, the Bulls could win 5 championships, and they still didn't love the general manager, and they didn't love Jerry Reinsdorf.
Hey, wait a minute, dude. I loved them all. So what are you talking about? Okay, my sisters, I had 4 older sisters. They're all Cub fans, right? And they got the big color TV, which is 19 inches of TV and about 50 inches of compartment around it, right? And I was stuck in my dad's bedroom with like a 10-inch black and white TV. And I saw my sisters watching that, the team with the cute little bear on the, Cub right. on the arm, and pretty blue and all that. And I was watching black and white with the team that was black and white, and to me those were the hard asses. Those are the tough guys, not the sissy team my sisters like so much, right? So again, that was how I looked at it back then, and it's still the same way. I still look at Cubs. You want to go for a party? We'll go to Wrigley Field and we'll hang out there. You want to go for a real game and a great game experience? We'll go to the South Side. And everybody.
I was at Disco Demolition Night with Steve Dahl.
Oh, yeah,
I've got my credentials. I winning ugly. I was like, I remember the years at the Sox. I
remember all those years. So yeah, it's fun stuff. Yeah. Hey, so I want to get into a couple of things, Mike. I want to get into what gave you your entrepreneurial mindset. Tell me about your upbringing in Chicago and your family and all that. Did you have somebody you aspired to be like when when you became this entrepreneurial minded person that wanted to be
I had a prolific uncle who was the family patriarch, who had a real estate business on the south side of Chicago that moved to the north side of Chicago, and I would just watch him make deals. And it's interesting, he was buying mobile home parks, and like my family had like 3 or 4 mobile home parks when nobody wanted to touch mobile home parks, but he was doing a great service for those people who that was the type of housing that they could afford and they needed. And he made beautiful mobile home parks in Waukegan and one in Iowa, I think it's Cedar Rapids. And he inspired me by just how he could see a piece of land and understand how it could help so many people. And then he was always looking for a deal. He was always driving around trying to find something. And that entrepreneurial mindset, really, I wanted to be him. I wanted to be just like him as a young kid. Now, I knew I was interested in politics, so I wasn't, like, real estate was too boring for me. And I knew that I wanted to get into high profile action. So I knew early on that it was going to be entrepreneur politics, but not running for office, but actually the business of politics, which was just starting to take off as a huge business. So I became a pollster, and in a campaign, the pollster is one of the more important people because we have the data, and we have the data on what you need to win. And that's where I started.
Absolutely.
This idea of momentum, because politics is all about getting momentum at the right moment on election day.
Absolutely. And so as a kid, your uncle was inspiration to you, and then moving to New York. When starting out as a young guy in New York, who was around you then that kind of fed your passion, fed that drive that continued?
I joined a company when I was 18. I moved from Chicago to New York, and if anybody who's done that, that's very traumatic, because Chicago is a wonderful city. It feels like a small town, and New York was this just smelly hustle and bustle. I knew no one. but the business was there. And I was working for these two young guys who were inspirational in the sense that they were the smartest, most creative, but the most dysfunctional people I had ever met. And I realized that I realized I was home. Like one of them was really great on computers and was of that age with like Bill Gates, Steve Wozniak building computers in their garages. Steve Jobs, one of the partners, was making this amazing computer system that we could analyze data. And another partner was a whiz bang, knew everything about politics, could remember the name of everybody who he had met. They both went to Harvard College, which if you grew up in Chicago, you don't even know where Harvard College was in those days. But when you get to New York, they start to tell you about it. So the two of them had gone to Harvard, and every day I was inspired. And I was working 16 to 18 hours in college, because these guys were inspiring me so much. And then they asked me to drop out of college. And I thought, that doesn't sound like a good idea. No matter how interesting, I think I should get my degree. And as soon as I graduated, I went to work for them, and we took a company of 5 people, which was a walk-up on 3rd Avenue over McDonald's. That's where I was working. We turned that into a business that in 2001, we sold to a holding company, and all of a sudden, I was 33 years old, and I had enough money that I would never have to think about money again.
Awesome. How big was the company that you sold? You went from 5 employees to how many in 2001?
200.
Nice.
And the day we closed is the best day ever. 9/10/2001.
Get out of here.
I signed the papers on 9/10/2001.
Oh, man.
If it was 2 o'clock.
Think about that. A day later,
the deal would
have happened.
Every clause would have been triggered, and we would have had no deal. And I was working. Story gets better. So I'm a kid from Chicago I'm traveling the world. I'm working for the president of the United States, like highest levels. On 9/10/2001, I'm working for Mike Bloomberg in his campaign, and he's going to win the primary day. 9/11 was primary day. He's going to win that, but he might not win the general. All of a sudden, this candidate who had a chance but wasn't certain, all of a sudden, the rationale for the campaign, I'm sitting in a room on 9/12 with the head of the campaign thinking, how are we going to rebuild New York? And I just thought this is the most powerful moment to be there, and how far I had come.
Yeah, of course. Wow, that's something to think about what you were going through at that point, right? You had that big win and the relief that it closed, right? Then you had 9/11 happen, and now you're in the middle of a campaign that totally is flipped upside down, right?
100%. And you're not even thinking about closing the deal. You're just thinking, how am I going to keep my family safe? How are we going to get this city back on track? How are we, what can we do? And you're suddenly thinking about the whole city and not just yourself.
Absolutely. Wow, that's quite an experience. Did that business go on to do fine after 9/11? Everything the business you sold?
Yeah, we maxed out our deal, so we got to the highest payments that we could. And that business is still around, which is amazing. Had our name on it until 2 years ago, where they finally took our names and turned it into our initials. But they kept it going 15 years after we left. So
awesome.
And I took that. I went from that job. I actually spent a year as the head of communications for the National Hockey League, which is that was the year the Blackhawks started to do well. Remember that game at Wrigley Field, the outdoor game against the Red Wings? Mm-hmm. That was my project.
Yeah, at Northwestern.
No, at Wrigley Field. It was
Northwestern.
The Red Wings versus the Cubs at Wrigley in 2009.
I remember that, Wrigley. Yeah. So national communication. What'd you call yourself?
I was the head of communications at the National Hockey League.
That's cool.
That was
And then
amazing.
that was for fun, or is that a great, the experience you wanted to do for the rest of your career, or what?
No, I was in between jobs, and the commissioner of the National Hockey League had been a client, and he could see that I was floundering a little bit and a little bit lost, and he said, "Come in here, and you're going to work for me." And when the commissioner tells you that you're going to work for him, nobody questions the commissioner. You just do it. So I took the job, and I really got my MBA working at the NHL. Like that was
Absolutely.
how companies work. I scheduled meetings, and with the hockey league, it's actually very regimented. Like they're going to play the games. There's going to be the referees are going to show up. There's going to be a score. They're going to have the regular season. They're going to have the All-Star game. They're going to have the playoffs. They're going to award the Stanley Cup. And so there's like an election. Like you can't wait. You can't tell the Stanley Cup, no, we'll do it in the third quarter. It's going to be awarded on that date. And so you've got to keep everything moving forward.
Right. That's really cool. All right, then. So you did that for a couple of years?
I did that for one season.
Okay.
Which in one season it's like 10 years in the business world. It moves. You can't imagine how fast hockey moves, and it's kind of funny. Like in the meetings of the hockey league, if you say something that's stupid or they really just check you against the wall. I mean, it was a tough environment to work in because it's a fearless group that is committed to the game of hockey.
So it ages you a little more than dog life then. 10 years for one instead of 7.
I can still remember every day I worked.
That's wild. I had a job one year. If I felt like that, I worked when I was a young guy, started my business. I worked winters, doing whatever I could, so I didn't have to dip into my savings. So I had money for the spring startup, right, for my business. And I did UPS for a couple of seasons and winter seasons. And that first season, I still remember it, like you just said. I still remember that 2.5 month period because it was such a nightmare to learn this job, and I had nightmares of missing that package and having to drive back after my route's done, figuring I had an extra package. I had to drive back 15 miles to deliver that package, and now it was late, right? I mean, so either way, I remember, it's funny how you remember these things that put stress in your life, right? Like it was yesterday.
I remember at Wrigley Field, like, so you've got to imagine you grew up your whole life in Chicago, not you, but many of us, our whole life we grew up in Chicago, and all we want to do is get on the field at Wrigley Field or to get into the underneath the stadium and into the dugout and the clubhouse and all this. And here I am. I can walk anywhere in Wrigley Field, and I was just pinching myself that I couldn't believe I was here, and yet I had a ton of work to do. Like there was all the media was there, all the players were there, all the fans were there.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is like the most surreal moment of my life. And I'm working, and if I screw up, like it's going to be a problem. And so it was just incredible pressure. And yet it was my hometown. So I knew like a lot of the things that would have been harder if I would have had to do this in another city. I knew Chicago like the back of my hand. I knew Wrigley Field. So I knew like all the...
You couldn't mess this up, Mike. You could not mess this up. Don't mess it up, you're saying, right?
The Hawks lost that game. But it was the beginning. That's like when Kane was a rookie and Sharp was playing. That was right before they started winning all the cups.
Wow. That's pretty... That was what year is that? 2000 what?
2009.
Wow. That's fun. And then, okay, so the next job, you started the next business. What did you do next?
I joined Edelman Public Relations and created a research and analytics function called Edelman Berland. And Edelman was another Chicago headquartered based company. They're the world's largest public relations company in the world, and yet it was started one block away from where I lived. So Richard Edelman and his father Dan lived on Astor Street in Gothi, and I lived on Lakeshore in Gothi. So again, this amazing Chicago connection, and I worked there for the next 5 years.
And then, did you become a partner there or no?
We were partners. It was Edelman Berland, and we created this. We carved off this research and analytics part and created a $25 million business doing research and analytics, and they had 66 offices around the world, and we were doing all the research for them. And what was great about that job is it allowed me to understand how research was used by agencies in service of corporations.
Nice, I like it. That's really cool. Okay, so let's just say, so when I think of research and analytics, right, for the value of businesses we have would be, like, can you understand our best customers, right? Are those, when you talked about the polarization, right? Understand those customers, polarize the customers that are the best fit for each business, right? And then research and evaluate who are those customers nationally that we can serve, right? Something like that could be a project.
Yeah, absolutely. And what are the best ways to get them messages? What initiatives? Because you have to, in order for a customer to hire you, they've got to know something about you. They've got to think even before they're going to consider your proposal, they've got to, you can't come out of nowhere. And so public relations was wonderful of how do you build awareness for the business, for the entrepreneur, for the service, and then why is this company right? And so understanding how people used research other than a politician, understanding in a corporate sense, gave me great perspective, but also, and we can wrap it up with this, also gave me the insight that I didn't want to work for anybody else the rest of my life. Like I had done that, and it was now time to follow my own dream and my own path, and not, I had the two partners when I started. I had the commissioner at the hockey league. I had Edelman when I was there. And so now, what if you could do anything you want? And that's why I came up with this idea. Momentum had been on my mind. Momentum was a very emotional word. I have momentum, I've lost momentum. And what I really wanted to do was decode data into momentum and quantify momentum. And I created something called M Factor, which is a quantification of cultural relevancy. And so I've now gone full circle from understanding momentum in politics to now understanding momentum with brands, the momentum of culture, the momentum of influencers in this world that we live in. And that's how it's come full circle for me. So, how can we sort of work on getting action-based outcomes on the insights that we find in our data?
So, okay, so this was started how many years ago, Mike?
We started in 2016 with just an idea of decoding data into momentum. And then I wrote a book called Maximum Momentum, which I sort of laid out those momentum drivers that we talked about, and then just sort of built a company of data scientists, market researchers, communication strategists, media experts, all aligned by the momentum mindset.
I love it. I love it. When I think about, yeah, go ahead.
I say you're 3/4 in the momentum mindset. We're gonna so that you can win. We'll get you all the way.
Yeah. So, every one of our businesses, I think about what you're saying, and I'm trying to look at value. When we've created momentum in our businesses by understanding different things that make us better than our competition and how we expose that. And the challenge is, exposing that, right? I mean, it's great. We've got some strong differentiators in our businesses, but our customers, our target customers across the country don't often know it, right? Because we don't know how to do the best job of that. And so, for my business in the future and businesses I think that do a great job of this, in my opinion, they're educators, right? We have what we call Rabine University, where put people on the things we do, pavements and roofs and pavement designs and concrete and asphalt, things we do. But you know what? We do a piss poor job actually of using it. It's like customers want to come. Hey, we want to come and check out the university. That's great. Come on out, right? But we're not structuring a continued regiment of education like we once were. When I first bought this building and remodeled, I'd used it for that on a monthly basis, and someday it was going to be every week. We went from every month to every quarter to a couple times a year, right? Or when customers actually want to be educated on different products and services, right? But again, I lost momentum in my opinion because we should have gotten to the once a week or twice a week educational format where we're bringing customers in from across the country, because we've got so much differentiation in our industry. It's not even close, right? But yet too often still we're commoditized, right? Because we're not educating on why there's more value in using us, right? So, you make me think about that a lot. If we did the right data research, right, we could probably pull out what really is the X factor or the differentiators. And because sometimes we think they're cool, customer doesn't find its value maybe, right? But your research could tell you that, right?
That's getting in the momentum mindset. That's really and getting your team. First, you've got to start with your team to believe it, and then you can because if they don't believe it, your customers will never believe it.
Yes.
And so start. We are special. We do things differently. People are when they hire us, they don't know how good they have it. That has to be in the culture to be in the momentum mindset.
Sure.
And
I like it.
I constantly I'm constantly fighting that. You want to hear a funny trick I've used now that it's working so well?
Love to.
This Zoom culture is, for many of us, takes away the best part of our business, which is our culture and being together. And I was really struggling with how do you maintain a culture that's remote? And I tried every trick possible to do it. And I was like, okay, who is the best at connecting with audience? And I realized it's comedians. Comedians connect with their audience. They can make you laugh. They can make you think, but they're really good. So I actually hired a comedian, and now our culture of meetings are lessons on how all the staff can become stand-up comedians. And we do an hour and a half a week with somebody from Second City, actually. But no, what I was saying is they're using stand-up comedians. They're used to interacting with audiences. In Zoom, you're forced to read the room by looking at them, and you can get all these blank stares. Comedians know how to deal with dead time. They can fill it. They can engage. If a joke isn't working, they can plow through it without being thrown off. And so this comedian has given so much confidence and hope to our team and really put them in the momentum mindset. They feel different, they act different, our revenue is soaring. It has been a wonderful change, and just because I wanted to shake up the culture.
That's cool.
So cool.
That's really neat. Okay, so you have a kind of a comedian coach that's on your staff then that's teaching people how to communicate through fun.
She's from Second City. I mean, she's an improv person from Second City, and it's a tough time for them because all their productions are shut down, their shows are shut down. So she's incredibly entrepreneurial, and I got to tell you, nobody misses the comedian show. No meetings get scheduled when the comedian coach is on. Nobody's distracted. No one's looking at their phone. It's like a fun workout, a real adrenaline lift for the whole team. It's at 4:00 today, and everybody's preparing for it right now. They've been thinking about it all week.
That's fun. That's a lot of fun, and I think that's the key to success in communication and sales really is connecting, right? And boy, how cool is it when you connect with a little humor, right? And just some fun-loving humor and stuff like that compared to otherwise.
Yeah, and it takes away their inhibitions. Like Zoom is very tough. You and I have never met. We have a great connection, but it's challenging. Think about if we were together in person, how much better it would be.
Absolutely.
Like the body language and the vibe, and comedians have taught them to overcome that.
That's really cool. I love that. That's what a neat way to differentiate again and get through a tough time. And I mean, do you foresee going back to kind of normal in the next months, or as things dissipate, or what's your thought?
Well, I think there's no such thing as normal, and there never was. But do I see a time in the future where we'll get some sort of in-person culture back? 100%. But I think we're going to work, and I think we're going to go to school, and we're going to travel differently, not better or worse, just different. And I don't mind wearing a mask on an airplane. I wish I would have done it before. I wouldn't have gotten so many colds when I was flying all over. So things will change, but in a way that I think we're getting onto the future faster. Direct to customer has never been better. Direct to voter has never, like, we don't need all these intermediaries to be in between us and the outcome, and that's really what's happening.
True. I agree. Yeah, it's a different world, but to embrace the different world, and take what's best from the past and bring it to the future, and take what's best of the future and embrace it.
Like, people say, it accelerated change by 2 or 3 years, and I'm like, thank goodness. Like, why was it going to take 2 or 3 years for people to realize that we didn't need these huge department stores with so much inventory, that we needed a few showrooms and they could mail it to us? Why, why does it? Why do we realize that we need a few movie theaters, but we're going to watch we're happy to watch the vast majority of movies at home on Netflix? Like, the change is good and it meets the market demand.
Yeah, the change is good. It's just I think if it's probably if it's known with more, because the impact of it being immediate, right? A loss of jobs, a loss of family, family confidence, and paying, the ability to pay your bills. So many people are struggling, right? That's the tough part of it all, right? I mean, change is going to happen. We know that, but cultural change is shifting that fast is like detrimental to many.
Well, that's to me, and some of my most dear friends and clients are in the restaurant business, and they've been devastated, and what's gone on for so long certainly isn't fair, but they will come out stronger, and they will come out more resilient, and it's accelerated some other parts of their business. So again, I'm not judging, and I'm certainly very sympathetic to what's happened. But this idea of incrementalism is done. If you're an incrementalist, you're out of a job. It's not going to work. You've got to have that moonshot. You've got to have that heightened sense of immediacy. And I think it forces all of us to take nothing for granted. I don't know what you were thinking about your business in February of 2020, but I certainly didn't see that my whole business would come crashing down and basically shut off for 6 weeks. And that I remember my whole staff leaving the office, and I thought that they'd be back by Easter, and they're still not back.
Yeah. No, you're right. No, none of us predicted this, right? Now we have to deal with it, and that's part of success is how strong are you to adversity, right? Because if you can get through adversity and somebody else can't, you're gonna be a survivor, and hopefully, and actually with less competition for a little while until they catch up. And so the faster you can change, right, the better. But boy, yeah, it's a confusing thing, right? What was necessary, what wasn't. We'll be second guessing this for decades, right? What was the right thing to do? What was the wrong thing to do? All the other things, right? But yeah. So when you think of the politics driving business, so I've been kind of engaged in the political world since I had a major union fight for some period of time in the Chicagoland area, and I was really mad at the unions. I was mad at what went on with my own fight, selfishly, right? But I studied what's gone on in Illinois politics before that time, and that's when I started getting engaged and kind of understanding more about the political world. But when I look at, a lot of my friends don't want to get involved in politics at all. They're businessmen, they're businesswomen, and they don't want anything to do with politics. And so my thing to them is always, hey man, I didn't have anything to do with politics either until I was 38, 39 years old. But once I, understood the challenges in business that could occur if you don't understand with the drivers, what politics might drive, whether it be labor law, whether it be litigation, whatever. When I didn't understand I didn't realize how big of a problem it was in my state. I've gotten engaged, right? So I believe that business somehow, in my opinion, to understand, how to drive your business for the future, you should kind of understand what's going on politically in your world. Because otherwise you're going to be shocked,
It's, first of all, thank goodness there's people like you. And second of all, 100%. You need to, if you don't think politics affects your business, you're just not paying attention, because politics is everywhere, and it doesn't have to be direct regulation that's going to affect your business, although it might happen. Look, starting my business was a major pain. I can't believe the red tape for an entrepreneur to start a business. You have to have resources, you have to have funding, you better know the situation, or you'll get knocked out before you begin. And so I hope one of the things you do is streamline it so entrepreneurs can get in the game without all these regulations.
So you're exactly right. So one of my things is that I've been involved in national politics a little bit to understand what other governors have done to do good things to make their states more streamlined for entrepreneurs, right? So my thing is all about job creation, because I love entrepreneurship, right? And so for me, it is a big part of building a place where business wants to be isn't just the cost of taxation, the cost of regulation. It's the cost of speed to get things done, right? And or slowness to get things done, because speed doesn't cost you a lot, right? And so when you look at the best states in the country, it doesn't take you that long. They've got a streamlined process. Doesn't take that long to get a permit to develop a piece of property, right? And they're not skipping. The good ones aren't skipping anything. It's not like they're not doing their environmentals, right? They're doing it. They just have a streamlined way to get things done. And again, how do you do that in a state that takes so long is going to be a challenge. But I'm confident that it can be done. It's been done all over, right? But so there's so many different things that either embrace jobs and job creation in a state or a city, and so many things that push it away and say, we just don't want you here. You can go to the next state over, next city over, and you're going to find much lower costs, way more efficiency, right? I mean, they don't say it that way, but that's the case.
Look what's happening. Look what's happening in New York. Everybody's just leaving. They're all going to Florida. Once New York is not a special cultural place, or it doesn't have uniqueness, then it's just expensive and dirty and highly taxed, and you can leave. And they do, and they're going to realize that.
Yeah, Mike, and we're actually leaving on a per capita basis. We're losing more than New York.
I thought New York's we're number one in like total numbers, right? Yeah,
number one in total numbers. California's number two, I think, and we're like number three. But population wise, we've only got 12 million people. You guys got double that probably, or maybe 18 million, 20 million, and California's up higher than that even, right? So either way, right? So per capita, we're kicking your ass, dude. So don't think that you guys are leaving. But
I would have come back to Chicago. My wife didn't like the winters, but I would have. She's from Argentina, but I would have come back. You would have put me in that number.
Yeah. So my thing is, I think it's an opportunity when we're that bad right now. We're pushing people away that blatantly, right? I believe the opportunity is bigger than ever to turn it around. I mean, I'm optimistic, right? That when I see a business that's got, again, I start businesses, I've, invested in a few businesses that were older businesses, and I've got businesses that are foundationally we were strong, and then we got away from, being on our toes and competing hard, right? And basically, when you look at a place like Illinois, like a business, right? Illinois has great infrastructure. We've got great natural resources, education. We have great education. Universities and our school system is pretty solid. It was solid. But it's all there still, right? It won't be there in 10 years from now, but it's still there. And so when you look at the opportunity, I mean, biggest fresh water, best fresh water in the world, right? Some of the best fresh water in the world. We've got oil underneath our ground. We've got coal. We've got all these things. We've got natural gas. We got the biggest, nuclear plants, right? So all these things mean natural resources strong, infrastructure strong, and we're in the middle of the greatest country in the world. That's opportunity, right? When we're last at everything, now it's time to say, okay, let's have that moonshot of how we become first in the middle of the country instead of worst.
Let me help you. So I'm on board.
Yeah, you're all right. Awesome. So what we like to do is, go over. Tell me your family quick. How many kids you got? You got two. You told me. I think we talked earlier.
A kid, a daughter who's in law school, and a son who's in business school, and a wife who does political consulting in Latin America.
All right. And then, and what's your favorite thing to do with with family and all that? You looks like you're a skier. What else? Or tell me
Well,
about skiing or anything else.
our family, we're a sporting family. So we like to ski, we like to golf, we like to hike, and we like to play tennis. Of all things that I learned as an adult. So growing up in Chicago, I went to the Oak Street Beach and I played soccer. But all these other sports, as when my wife and I got married, we decided we wanted to do things together, and so we found sports that we could do as a family, and we grew up doing them.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, we're the same way. And same thing. I learned to really ski well after, when I'm in my late 20s, early 30s and all that. And golf, I didn't play until I was in my mid 30s. So in my family, the same way, we did a bunch of things so that we would stay closer as a family, and it's been awesome. Right. But you're a golfer. You got to, when you come to Chicago, you got a place to play now. We own a great golf club called Bull Valley. And it's
cool.
one of the best I'm telling you right now, Mike, one of the best in the country.
You're not going to have to twist my arm when I think we need the snow to melt, right? And then I'm in.
Yeah, we've got orange balls we use, but no, actually 100%. But when the snow melts, 7 months out of the year, it's an amazing golf destination. So you ever want to come and play, bring some friends and come and play a great course, you're always invited.
I shot my low round in Chicago. I shot a 77, which is, I've never broken 80 time.
Wow, where's that at?
I don't remember the name of the course. It's built on a landfill. It's on the west, like near Naperville, sort of. I can't remember what the name is, but it's a well-known sort of public course.
Yeah. Where would that be?
I remember the defining feature is it didn't have a lot of bunkers. So, like if I was off the green, I wasn't in that much trouble.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to think what course that'd be, but there's been a bunch of them on landfills. But yeah, so
it's west out there. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm thinking of one out there. I just can't name it right now. But so our course is number 30th toughest, most challenging golf course in the country.
What's the name again?
Bull Valley. Bull Valley.
Okay.
It's comparable to Butler. It's compared to Butler
Holy
National.
Shit. Oh my God. Okay.
It was built to rival Butler, and they did a great job. I mean, it's just long, it's just difficult. but it's actually probably even more beautiful than Butler's a beautiful course, probably more beautiful than Butler.
And where's it at?
So it's in Woodstock, Illinois. It was a very private golf course that my wife and I invested in, bought in 2011. And we just revitalized it and brought it back to life, and it's just awesome. I mean, last year was definitely the best condition year ever for the course in 30 some years, and so it's really fun to be part of.
I am 100% in. 100% in.
Okay, so figure out who you want to bring up. I get a place to stay up here. Whatever you need, it'll be a blast. And then I can sponge off you too and learn more from you.
Yeah, that's a deal. We can we'll do a consulting session and then we'll play around.
Awesome. And then you can actually get my leaders to want to hire you then too.
We'll do a pitch, we'll do a consult, and we'll do a round.
I love it. And we actually do that stuff.
Then we'll need some cold alcoholic beverages afterwards, though. That's got to be part of it.
Oh, that's no problem. We're all set up for that too, so that's not a big deal. And okay, so at the end of these podcasts, number one, you're awesome, and really your story is cool as heck, and what a neat thing to go, politics and business. And I'm trying to figure out. I've been in business all my life. Now I'm trying to jump in the political world to say, how the heck do I do this, right? And I'm probably going to scratch my head and say, why the heck am I doing this? But I believe that Illinois is a great place in the middle of the country that should be the best state in the country, and I believe the opportunity is incredible. So I want to take what I've learned in business and basically serving my customers, serving people, and building a value proposition. Say, why can't we build it in Illinois? And so that's why I'm doing it. But so I love the fact that you went from the other side to business and all that. And I've been told many times, just Gary, stay the kingmaker. Don't worry about being the king. And I get that. And I would rather.
It's the opposite. You've achieved what you need to achieve. Here's the last piece of advice I'll give you. They're all going to tell you not to do it. They're all going to tell you you're going to lose. They're going to say you're going to embarrass yourself. Someone's going to. When you have it in your heart, just like when business, they tell you it's not going to be successful, to do something else. When you have it in your heart, that's what voters respect the most. Just don't never a moment of self-doubt in politics, because the second you do that, you lose.
Yeah, no, I have no doubt. I mean, I have no doubt that for me, I think it's kind of a little bit of a calling, right? My life has turned in a lot of ways in the last few years, and my businesses, my son and our teammates do a great job running them. They could use me selling probably, but otherwise they don't really need me. So it's probably time. You know, without a wife at my side, that would probably be crushed by anything they say negative about me, right? It makes it a lot easier. I can handle a lot, right? And because I'll have to be ready to probably. But either way, yeah, I appreciate that. I agree with you. So Chris, at the end, I want Chris to go over the nuggets of success and some of the messaging that you threw at us, because there's a ton, man. I don't know how Chris is going to be able to get all this laid out, but I learned so much listening to Mike. It's incredible.
So normally the guests aren't quite as filled with awesome info as you, Mike. So I get more opportunities to ask questions, but you just kept Gary going. So if I could ask one question before I dive into the takeaways, it would be, what political moonshots could capture the most momentum right now, in your opinion?
I mean, the guy got elected on it. Joe Biden got elected on the moonshot of ending COVID, and really getting the country back on its feet. He basically said, "I'm not Trump, and I'm going to end COVID," and that is the moonshot. Those two moonshots actually have propelled us forward, and it's so it's so simple, and yet it's what is motivating everybody. The number one thing that Americans want is they want their freedom back, and we can't get our freedom back until COVID is it doesn't have to be eradicated, but it has to be under control, and it's not under control now.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
I don't even think Americans have a moonshot that goes past that. Like just getting their kids back in school, getting back to work, getting their income more predictable. I don't think Americans are thinking bigger. But as business people, we know that that's all going to happen. So we've got to think bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
I'm just going to charge my phone. Hold on, I'm just going to grab my charger.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I can dive into the takeaways, and there were a lot. I could probably talk for the next 20 minutes on all the great stuff you shared with us today, Mike. First of all, don't be afraid of big money in politics. Direct to voter is more powerful. So, don't worry if you're the short stack going against the big money.
Earned media is going to get you there. You still need money, but you don't need, it wasn't like before where you had to buy all this TV advertising. Now you're able to mobilize much more using digital.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. That's really inspiring. Politics teaches you how to lose because you'll lose far more than you win.
Yeah.
I think that'll be super valuable to keep in mind for any political campaigns. In business, the power is in yes. In politics, all the power is in no.
Yeah,
that's an awesome perspective. I never realized that, but that's super true. The 5 disruptors of momentum: disruption, innovation, polarization, sticky issues, social impact.
Yeah,
that's really exciting. And I'm definitely gonna pick up your book after this. Incrementalists are done. You need to aim for moonshots to make it in politics. That I feel like that's true in business and even art. I would say that's true in filmmaking. That's true.
They make a lot of money on doing sequels. But there is money in sequels. Like a proven formula does work, but you got to have that breakout success.
Yeah. Well, it seems like even the sequels are monumentally bigger than the one before it.
Yeah, look what's happening with all those Avengers and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, the second Avengers made $100 million more opening weekend because
it has momentum.
Yeah, it's crazy. In business, some customers are worth more. In politics, each person is worth one vote, which is why you have to polarize.
Yeah, so true.
Would you say that like coronavirus is the biggest thing to polarize on right now, or is there another issue that?
No, we're completely united on that. That's the strange. That's the strangest part of Trump. Whether this is my analytics, not my ideology, but the whole country was sort of united that COVID was a problem, and then instead of sort of working that to his advantage, he tried to polarize us on it. And I think he would have easily been elected to a second term if he didn't try to polarize off of COVID, if he would have tried to unite off of COVID. I think that's how we're going to look back at this period. It's not that he had to do, it's not masking, it's nothing like that. It's instead of using it as a way to divide us, he could have united us. It's us versus COVID. And somehow he a little tone deaf on the issue. It was, I mean, I'm not talking about his whole presidency, but that you asked about that issue was any other politician would have done it a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Like in matters of crisis, like George Bush, like think about all these people who they're on different sides. They united on issues that were existential threats to the country.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, George Bush won the second term on how he handled 9/11.
Yeah, that's so. And again, I don't want. It's my analytics, not my ideology.
Yeah,
but this was the economy was humming. So many things were going in the right direction. The handling of COVID is just a head scratcher.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about it. If it fits into your show, it's just you got to be. He's going into politics, so you got to be careful.
Yeah. Well, I find that your perspective is so informed with data and experience that that's not coming from a political
especially when you're usually consulting the left and you're
right.
You're talking about the right. I think that's pretty cool. That's pretty
okay. Just tell me how you're going to use it. I just want to make sure. I want to make sure that it's analytics, not ideology.
Mm-hmm.
Because Trump is he's polarizing in a way that you can't have a rational discussion with people because they're not rational about this subject. They can't get past their emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I just gave up. I mean, I stopped going. I used to go on Fox and talk about it. And then people they have sort of this emotional reaction to Trump and they can't get past it.
I know. Believe me, Mike, I have a lot of friends that are center right that had no problem with most of his policies, right? They could not stand them so much. They would normally vote for him if they didn't have the picture of him or his voice in their ear, right?
Yeah.
If they just looked at his policy, never heard him talk, they would say, okay, this is my guy because he's getting stuff done in the business world. But so many of them would not vote for him, and they use the word tone all the time. I can't stand his tone. I can't stand his tone. I said, and I would always say, I get it, man. I get it. But if you're an entrepreneur, it's hard to not like the results, right? So
the results were off. February of 2020, unemployment numbers were historic lows for African Americans, for Hispanics. The stock market was humming. I mean, the trade war with China looked like it was a good move. Like after, so yeah, it's Charlottesville, this riot. Like there's so many of these things that just went off. Just off.
Yeah, I know. Cool. Okay, so what else you got there, Christopher?
Yeah, I loved your comment on how all negative campaigns will lose, like complaining or saying, "Oh, woe is us as a country." Americans are optimistic. You can never lose the optimism. Right? That's all of these things that you shared. Like, after hearing them, like that's so incredibly obvious, but I never connected those dots.
Yeah.
So thank you for connecting all these dots. And politics is all about gaining momentum at the right time.
Yeah.
To me, that makes sense. Like hearing you say that, it makes sense why you would go into sports, because I feel like, the team that wins the World Series is the team that got the most momentum going into the playoffs.
Yeah. That's why you just have to get in. It all starts over.
Yeah.
I mean, well, like think about how many teams get knocked out in the first round, and like crazy shit. How can Tom Brady be playing in the Super Bowl? Like that makes no sense at all.
I'm from Tampa
Bears beat the
originally.
Buccaneers. The Bears beat that team.
Yeah.
40, what is he, 43 now, right?
Yeah,
43.
like, but they used to say how Belichick was like the genius, but who's in the Super Bowl?
Yeah. Who didn't even make the
Like
playoffs?
wait a minute. Who was the true architect of that Patriots team?
It's because Tampa was the level of the Bears, really. If you think about it. Tampa was
Oh
an
my
average
God.
team. Took an average team and made them great.
Yeah, but he's got Gronkowski with him. Like, give me a break. Like,
Yeah.
I hate the Patriots, and I hate them more. Now
I'm still probably betting on Kansas City. I like this kid and his solid team that he's around and everything else. You know.
Can you believe he could have been a Bear?
Ugh.
Yeah, I know. Sickening. Don't remind me. A friend of mine is his quarterback coach, his private quarterback coach, and he's also a private quarterback coach to Mitch Trubisky, and he loves Mitch, and he's also Garoppolo's too, right?
Right.
And he loves Mitch. He thinks Mitch could be a top 6 or 7 quarterback in the NFL. He's got the right head on his shoulders, right? And he's got the right athleticism, but he's not quite there, right? Anyway, and then he says, this kid is amazing. This kid, after getting that huge contract, was more focused than he was before, not less. He was showing up earlier. He's dragging more of his teammates out for early morning, practices that aren't required, right? And so this friend of mine says, this kid is only going to get better. It's crazy. He's got all the money in the world now. He's only going to get better. And he said, that's what you don't see in the NFL or any sports usually. They might maintain or whatever, right? But they're not going to focus on being, they're not going to focus, work harder, focus on being the greatest quite as much when they get that big contract, the biggest contract of all time in the NFL, right? Crazy.
It seems like Mitch is intellectually slow. Like, I'm not questioning how smart he is, but he's reading the defenses seems to really give him trouble.
Yes, again, but what I love about him is, you and I and Chris here, so we hear from leaders. We're around people that have leadership mindsets that get through tough times because they have that head on their shoulders that leads other people. He's got that. He's got other guys respect him. They love him, right? He blames himself, doesn't blame anybody else, always takes full responsibility, even when it's not his, right? Yeah. That's what a leader does. So he's got all that we haven't seen in Chicago for a long time. Now we just need to, like you're saying, learn how to read the defenses better and
the defense.
Yeah. So no, you're right.
No sacks and no interceptions.
So we got golf and the Bears next year. I want to see that.
Both. I got season tickets for the Bears, so I'm there in the tailgate with you. Like, I just couldn't use them this year. I've had the tickets 25 years. I've got I'm in the media because I didn't want to get wet at games, so I got the second level that has the media cover over, so I could go in any conditions.
We're similar. We're similar. We have an overhang we're like two rows back from where you get wet.
yeah, exactly. I didn't want to fly in from New York and get soaked at a game.
Yeah. Well, we've got that, and we got tailgates. Or you got tailgate. We have
tailgate. I'm in.
No, we have end zone seats too. We have 6 end zone seats. So those are the ones you want to go out in the weather. That's where we go for the weather, and that's fun too. So so you're there.
Cool.
Okay.
The ones up top in the inside? No,
mine aren't too bad. Mine aren't bad. Mine are mid-range and the south end zone, so they're not bad. They're actually really good seats because there's 3 on top of 3. Nobody walks in front of you because we're up against kind of the wall. Great. Perfect.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Chris, what else you got from Mike?
Yeah, I got a couple more awesome insights. This is super relevant to our current state of business. How do you maintain a culture that's remote? Use comedians.
Yeah, comedy.
Extra bonus points if they're from Second City or another Chicago comedy institution. What else? And then lastly, I have, you can never have a moment of self-doubt in politics or you'll lose.
100%. They sniff it out. If you hesitate in politics, you're gone. Trump did an amazing job leveling that field And so did Biden. And you know, like when Elizabeth Warren took out Bloomberg, like if you just blink, you're gone. Like they just wipe you out. And in Chicago, in Illinois, it'll be a little bit easier. But like think about when Obama won his Senate seat, and all those characters kept dropping off because all the Republicans got in trouble. Right? There were two. One was at the his wife, the swinger. Like I remember, there were two guys.
Yep. Yeah, great people. Ryan was that one, and then somebody else, right? Yeah. Good people that had a way bigger shot than Obama winning.
Obama was
right?
an accidental senator.
Yeah, he was. But you just never know. But either way, so my thing is I get tons of stuff out of it. Follow up everything Chris said because I agree with everything Chris said. Great nuggets of stuff that we can take from this. Anybody in business, politics can take a lot of, and I love the fact that so many things do correlate right from one to the other. I tell people that and they say, Raybon, you're a business guy. You don't belong in politics. I think there's a lot of things that correlate, and I think there's a lot of solutions that we have to figure out in business for our customers. And I believe the customer, the taxpayer, isn't being served well. Right. And so I think there's an opportunity when I see that in business, that's an opportunity for business. I think in politics, there's an opportunity right now to serve taxpayers better than ever before in the state of Illinois, and it would result in good things happening. That's my opinion, right? So I love that you said, hey, go if you're confident, you know what I mean, doubt in your head, go after it, because that's kind of who I am right now. So polarization, I love the polarization thing. I've never said it that way, but in our businesses, it's just kind of the same thing. And I think in politics too, as you said, right, you have to identify who you are, who you can serve the best, and then talk to them. And if there's customers that you'll never be able to do business with, and guess what? In politics, as much as I want to win everybody over. I don't care how far left or right you are. I want to win everybody over, right? Yeah. But it's not probably possible. So how much time do you waste trying to take the whole spectrum when really if you're really, this is your niche. This is where you're strong. Go after them and win them all over, and you're going to win, right? Yeah. Kind of like in business, so where we have to focus on the customers that we perform the best for, that we can serve the best. So I love the polarization thing. I'm going to think about that a lot. I just appreciate you, dude. Everything you've been through, and your wisdom is going to be so valuable to anybody that listens to this podcast. And that's our goal. Our goal is to get people, and there's young and old. I mean, I've got friends of mine that are our age, my age, your age, that don't jump into entrepreneurship until they're our age, right? Yeah. And they become very successful with the wisdom they've gained. And so this podcast is really for people like you and I that say, hey man, I want to go start something and listen to these podcasts to get some nuggets like they will you. And then the young people that they're starting their careers, great opportunity for young people, right, to just jump into something right away while they don't have a lot of responsibilities, right, where they can live at home maybe still, right? So yeah, I love it. I'm anxious to hear it and to connect with you probably late spring or early summer and tee it up. Let's do that, because let's get you in front of our team. Like I said, in front of all our leaders, we'll do a seminar, because I guarantee you there's some of my leaders will want to look into using you. So cool. All right, brother. Hey, awesome meeting you. Awesome talking to you. I can't wait to see you in person after the COVID stuff is done and we're golfing together on a great golf course down here in Woodstock. This was wonderful. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thanks, Mike, for your time. You're awesome. Have a spectacular day. Bye. Bye now.